is Joy News Prime.
Tonight on Joy News Prime, outgoing Presby moderator alleges attempts by politicians to buy his silence with $100,000 in other properties. Students at the country's tertiary institutions complain about the impact of overcrowding of their lecture halls and hostels as university teachers ask for the intake for the new academic year to be slashed. The New Patriotic Party is promising $1 million for each constituency to improve infrastructure, especially in the 3 regions in the north.
Indications of a possible hike in U.S. interest rates before the end of the year will impact on investment directions in the country.
My name is Israel and Joy News Prime is still the most comprehensive 2 hours of television news in Ghana. It is also available across Europe on ABN television station. So as you realize, it's now some 98 days to the elections in December, and Joy News is your most authoritative and credible platform for bringing you election coverage. And staying with elections, the Accra High Court has dismissed the suit filed by former Minister of State and legal advisor to ex-President Kufuor, Mrs. Vicky Bright. They should pray the court to declare the election of Ahmed Arthur as parliamentary candidate for Okankwe South null and void. Justice Mensah, in his ruling, said Mr. Arthur had not committed fraud, as claimed by Vicky Bright in his nomination form for both the 2012 and 2016 NPP primaries. Joy News' Joseph Akable was in court in our report.
The singing and dancing that greeted a ruling from the High Court ending the over 3 years court case. Vicky Bright had sought to annul the outcome of the Okankwe South primaries, arguing that the MP's nomination form had wrong information concerning the program he pursued at the Ghana Institute of Journalism, a claim she stated had been upheld by the party's National Executive Committee. Mrs. Bright had also questioned the voters' register used to organize the primaries that saw Mr. Arthur elected as the party's candidate. Justice Mensah in his ruling said the parliamentary candidate had not supplied wrong information in his form for both the 2012 and 2016 primaries. Justice Mensah said it's not strange that the candidate had entered a wrong program as course of study at GIG, and that Mrs. Vicky Bright failed to prove how that created undue advantage for the eventual winner. Speaking to Joy News after the ruling, the parliamentary candidate said he felt vindicated by the court's decision.
She brought the case to court, and God represented us through our lawyers, and we have won the case. The judge has ruled, and it is evidently clear that I never made any false declaration. My certificate is never fake, and so this day, as I stand here, I stand vindicated. I am saying to the whole world that that which Victoria Bright said about me, that I am a thief, I am a criminal, I am a school dropout, my certificate is a forged one. She couldn't prove any of it in court. I expect her to be on board to support this campaign. That is what I demand from her, so that she will come and support this campaign for the sake of NPP and for the sake of Okankwe South.
Private legal practitioner Egbert Fabu, who represented the NPP, said he hopes all parties will put the matter behind them.
Family affair, there's no victor, there's no vanquish, there's an election to win. So that is what is important. Well, I'm not a plaintiff's lawyer, but I believe that everybody involved in this matter will consider the interests of the party, and for that matter, the plight of Ghanaians as we speak today, and forge ahead in unison for victory.
Ahmed Arthur's supporters could simply not hide the excitement.
Ahmed Arthur supporters,
Right now, we don't know how they are going to do. We don't know what they are going to the action they are going to take again. But we know on the ground, Okaigwe South belongs to Ahmed Atta.
Nothing, absolutely nothing can change it. Yes. And when she passed, the heavens will speak for Ahmed Atta.
But today, the court has decided Honorable Ahmed Atta is number one. So I want to send a signal to everybody. If you are MPP member or if you love MPP, stop sitting on the wall. Come back home. Let us work together and bring Nana Addo into power and Honorable Ahmed Atta.
Counsel for Vicky Bright, Barbara Kudema, declined reacting to the ruling. Joseph Akable, Joy News, Accra.
Assistant Head of Communication of the Electoral Commission has stated that the Commission is happy with the work it's done so far in the run-up to the December polls. He said even though there is still more work to do, the Commission has performed its task to satisfaction. He made the statement in Wa at a two-day capacity building workshop organized by the Electoral Commission with support from USAID. Rafiq Salam's report from Wa.
The purpose of the two-day training capacity building workshop on the communication strategy and the 5-year strategic development plan of the Electoral Commission is to build the capacity of its officials and the National Commission on Civic Education (NCCE) for the upcoming presidential and parliamentary elections. Upper West Regional Director of the Electoral Commission, Azu Boscos, advised the participants to communicate their message in simple language to enable them reach their targeted audience.
We must also take note that when we go out there to talk to them, we must be very good listeners. As they bring to ask us questions, we must take time and listen. And we don't just go out there to communicate to people without preparing very well. We need to also prepare very well before we go out. You don't prepare very well, and you go out, you get yourself messed up.
One major headache of the Electoral Commission is the issue of rejected ballots, which is Assistant Head of Communications, Yusuf Alhassan Ayuba, said they are working hard to correct. Mr. Ayuba said the EC was satisfied with the work they have done so far towards the December polls.
Elections starts with registration. We've done the limited registration. The Supreme Court ordered us, to delete persons who register with the NHIS, and afford them an opportunity for them to re-register. We've done that. We also did continuous registration, because the law mandates the Electoral Commission to do continuous registration in Section 9 of the CI 91. The same section says that the Electoral Commission shall, in consultation with the political parties, agree on the modality. So when the modalities were agreed upon, we implemented continuous registration. So after that, we will exhibit the register come early September. Then from there, we would start the process of filing of nominations. We will also open the opportunity for persons who want to transfer their votes. So we are on course, and we are very happy with the processes so far.
Reporting for Joy News, Rafiq Salam. Wow.
Some chiefs in the northern region have endorsed the candidature of the NPP flag bearer Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. One of such is the Boku Naba. Let's hear what he's had to say.
According to Chief, when His Excellency John Mama visited him, he dressed similarly as he has, and then there was a handkerchief, and people allege that that is the journalists. They allege that he had taken the white handkerchief and taken the NDC. So, and that was the speculation, and which is not true. Right now, the way he has dressed is the same way he was dressed when the president came. He doesn't need to talk so long, but he's praying that God's willing, you will get what you want and become the president of Nigeria.
The vice presidential candidate of the New Patriotic Party, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, meanwhile, has announced an initiative aimed at alleviating poverty in the 3 regions in the north that will see each constituency benefiting from an infrastructure fund worth $1 million. The initiative, according to Dr. Bawumia, would prove revolutionary to improving the fortunes of the beneficiary communities. A total of $1.6 billion, he explains, will be set aside for the Infrastructure for Poverty Eradication Initiative. Dr. Bawumia made the promise during the campaign tour of the northern region to the excitement of the people. The NPP government, he says, will invest in the pro-poor policy in villages in the northern region. The new promise follows the one dam, one village policy the flag bearer promised the people of the 3 regions in the north. Joy News' Martina Bugri reports hundreds of supporters of the party in Sakugu in the northern region hijacked the campaign of the party's flag bearer, demanding that he addresses them before he moves to other communities. You're watching Joy News Prime. We're taking a break, but we have more stories coming up. Please stay tuned. Now, university teachers have asked vice chancellors to reconsider cutting down the number of intake for freshmen in the 2016-2017 academic year. UTAG, among other things, is worried its members cannot cope with the widening teacher-student ratio, considering the freeze on recruitment into that sector. Joy News' Joseph Akable spent some time at the University of Ghana to interact with students as well as participate in lectures, and has come through with the following report.
So I'm here at the University of Ghana, the highest ranked university in West Africa. The University Teachers Association of Ghana recently made a call to vice chancellors across the tertiary institutions to cut down the number of students they admit in the coming year. UTAG is of the view that the large number of students being admitted makes the class size too large for lecturers to handle. So I'm here to first and foremost have a look at what a lecture hall looks like on a normal day. Then again, I also talk to some students to find out what they make of the class size as to whether it affects academic work or not. The KAB John Scotte block, one major lecture block here at the University of Ghana. I'm here to show you how a large lecture hall looks like. The screen that displays the lecturer's notes is the focus for many. For a class this large, it helps students to follow lectures keenly. I managed to grab a seat at the back of the lecture hall that can be occupied by as many as 700 students. The speaker that hangs high above the walls in the lecture hall makes the lecturer's voice audible for all. Few minutes to the end of the lecture, I exit to interact with some students. Ordinarily, what's the size of your lecture?
We are about close to 300 students. So I do social work, so you can imagine the class. We are very much. In fact, some of the lecturers are ineffective, especially when given an assignment, and sometimes they just come to class and just read everything that they have there, but do not go further because they are afraid of the marking, they are afraid of the assignment being piled up there, and I think it's tiring for them.
I think it's a major challenge because what happens often at times here at the University of Ghana, for instance, is that you always have a very huge class such that it is very difficult for lecturers to have that one-on-one interaction that we would need for the quality of education and the teaching and the learning and all that. So it's generally a problem, but there's little we can do as students. We can't say much. We would just have to go through the system. I think that for students or for people who go through the high schools and want to go to the universities, they should have the opportunity to go to the university. If there exists any challenge, it ought to be through a concerted effort with government and other stakeholders to make sure that if it is lecturers that we need, as many as we can employ, we do that and make sure that students get to benefit from the schools. Let's not say because the teacher or lecturer student ratio is very limited, and for that matter we don't have enough in terms of the quality. We should do that and disadvantage people, as in students, from getting the opportunity to be in school.
There are about more than 320 students in the lecture hall. It does affect academic works in a certain way because some people come for lectures and all they do is to just pass unnecessary comments, which sometimes I find very unpleasant. And because of the large number, most of them are not seen by the lecturer to be sent out. So I think it really affects academics here. For me, I'm actually able to ask questions, and the lecturer does also interprets it well to me, to my understanding. But then some people, they're actually shy because of the large number. Most of them ask questions and end up being laughed at. But I think if we have a small number of people in a particular class, it would actually help.
Do political science, and we have a little over 700 students in our class for the entire political science class. But when I came to level 100, we're a little over 800, yeah.
And do you think this affects your academic work?
Yeah, obviously, looking at the class size of 700, you have a lot of doing lectures. There's a lot of noise because of the petty talking among students, and it distracts teaching and learning. And also, we still use the whiteboard and the marker, and obviously, students have to strain their eyes. Those who sit at the back, they have to strain their eyes before they see what is being written on the whiteboard. And lecturers also complain that they have to invest more, because for a lecturer who has one course during the week, would have to divide the class, and so instead of coming teaching that course just once in a week, ends up teaching it about 3 or 4 times, because he has to divide the class to have maximum attention.
So you have seen what the lecture hall looks like. We've also heard that call coming from UTAG, calling on vice chancellors of the various institutions to cut down the number of students that they will be admitting. You also heard the opinions of some students, very varied opinions coming in from the students here. As it stands, we are all watching what the vice chancellors across the various tertiary institutions will be doing, as well as they will hit to this call by UTAG. Joseph Akable, Joy News, Accra.
Meanwhile, President of the University Teachers Association of Ghana, Dr. Harry Agbenu, has revealed that the uncertainty surrounding the high intake of tertiary students into public universities has become a political issue, as politicians continue to mount pressure on managers of the institutions to admit more students than they could accommodate to boost their political ambitions. Speaking on the polls, the development, according to Dr. Agbenu, puts undue pressure on the very few lecturers and also makes teaching and learning unnecessarily challenging.
Managers of our institutions are under pressure from government. You know, government to take in as many of the students as possible. It's become a political issue.
Now that the time for the first students to come in is drawing closer, you're saying that for the vice chancellor, they have not told UTAG whether or not they would cut down on the intake?
We have called on them. They have not officially informed us that they are cutting down, but we believe that our vice chancellors understand and appreciate the call we are making, and are willing to toe the line. And they will listen.
And they will listen.
Yes, sir.
But you also mentioned that it's also a political matter, so it's a fine blend between listening to you and listening to government.
That is why our vice chancellors, our managers, will have to stand up to the occasion and take on the autonomy that is granted them under the Constitution, under the acts that establish the universities. The universities are supposed to be autonomous. They are supposed to have academic freedom.
Supposed to be, but are they?
They are not entirely, but we have called on them to try.
Are you not putting them in a very difficult position to take these decisions?
We are helping them. They see us as we are helping them.
Because you see, if government says admit more, you say don't admit, because if you do, we can't teach them.
Admit more. No, it's just a simple position to make to government that, well, we wish we could have admitted more, but we don't have the space, we don't have the manpower.
Roads and Highways Minister Alhaji Nusaf Hussaini has announced government is aiming to complete several of the major roads currently under construction before the end of the year. One of the roads targeted for completion is the Dodo Pepesu Nkwanta Highway. The minister was briefing journalists when he took his turn at the Meet the Press series here in Accra. More in this report by Jennifer Kwamwa.
Alhaji Nusaf Hussaini said the ministry has continued to improve major road corridors and intersections, including the Dodo Pepesu Nkwanta Road and the first phase of the Kwame Nkrumah interchange.
Some of the projects that achieved significant progress were the Dodo Pepesu Nkwanta Road, which is presently within defect liability. That is completed within defect liability. Agona Junction, Ilebo, which is about 98% complete. The construction of the Giffard Road, which is about 99% complete. The construction of Bema Camp Road Phase 1, which is 87% complete. The construction of Bema Camp Road Phase 2, which has been completed.
The Kwame Nkrumah Interchange Phase 1 completed and handed over. That's the 2 bridges. The Kwame Nkrumah Interchange Phase 2, that's the flyover at Ring Road flyover, that's 93% complete. I wish to assure you that most of these roads will definitely be completed by December 2016.
A number of footbridges, the minister said, have also been repaired and completed as part of methods to improve pedestrian safety.
The status of some of the other bridge projects include the following: repair of N1 footbridge between Apenkwa Interchange and Dimples Junction completed. Repair of Bailey Bridge at Hacho, Mabe completed. Road safety interventions. These road safety interventions include provision and installation of road signals on the Accra-Tema motorway and in Sawan bypass is completed. Provision of road line marking on Tema motorway is ongoing. Progress is at 50%. Rehabilitation of street lights on Teta Kwashe Malam Road is 60%.
Alhaji Hussaini also pointed out the revenue generated by the Ghana Road Fund increased from 191.42 million Ghana cedis in 2010 to 627.4 million Ghana cedis in July 2016. He explained how these funds are being allocated to increase and improve the road network in the country.
The fund allocated a total of 1.056 billion. That is 88% of the projected revenue to the 3 road agencies, that the Ghana Highway Authority, the Department of Feeder Roads, and the Department of Urban Roads, to primarily undertake routine and periodic maintenance works for 2016 and to settle outstanding indebtedness.
Meanwhile, work is progressing steadily on the dedicated bus lanes that bus rapid transit vehicles will use when the system becomes fully operational before the end of this year. The dedicated lanes currently being carved out of a portion of the existing road, and the pavement will ensure commuters in those buses enjoy a traffic-free ride to their destinations. The construction is, however, creating a lot of inconvenience, especially for businesses along the road who say their customers are unable to access their shops. Efwa Evans Chinri has more.
The Ayalolo transport service is being hailed as a key solution to Accra's chronic traffic situation, with the first lane running from Ofankor to Accra. BRT, as was envisaged, usually has the median being the lane dedicated for the unhindered buses that ply the route. Here in Accra, though, the lanes are being carved out on the sides of the road. The contractor is currently working on the Ofankor-bound lane, having already completed work on the Accra-bound lane. The contractors have had to narrow the road so they can work without much hindrance, but also keep out the flowing traffic. But this has also deprived customers of these businesses access to their shop front. Shop owners and residents along these roads they were served notice ahead of the construction, but they are unhappy because their businesses are gradually collapsing. They also say that they are not aware of when work will be completed.
It's affecting us because our customers can't get anywhere to park. So our markets has come down. They have to park outside the streets where the bus stop over there, and that place too is dangerous. AMA too can come around and just have. So normally they just have to go, or they send somebody, or they park somewhere and walk.
This is the only entrance here, and no one can come here looking at what is happening here. And they always have their machine seated right in front of the shop, blocking the view. So eventually people have to go to Accra instead of them stopping by. So it's really affecting us.
When you see the way they are constructing the road, it's not perfect because they're supposed to demolish some of the buildings to get big access, which most of the buildings have left, which we don't know whether they are going to demolish it or not. Else what they are doing is not going to serve the purpose that they want to.
Some MPs who took a test ride on the new buses have had some wonderful things to say about it, suggesting the inconvenience will pay off eventually.
What we expect as members of parliament, especially on this committee, is how they are going to improve upon efficiency in terms of shortening the time to get to the business district, how they are going to take care of their customers in terms of providing the right bus stops, which is customer friendly, so that people will have access to the bus stops, and then the timely arrival of the buses at those terminals, so that I know if I get to Terminal A, 10 o'clock, there is a bus there to pick me.
Minister of Roads and Highways Alhaji Inusaf Hussaini says the affected businesses will have to bear with government, indicating work should be completed before the end of the year.
The bus lane project started sometime the beginning of this year, and is to provide for, it's on pilot basis, and we're thinking that it should be possible to dedicate some routes to buses brought into the country for mass conveyance of people, so that, for instance, if you are living beyond Amasaman and you drive to Amasaman, you can park your car. The construction period, many things happen, and shop owners lose revenue, and so they're bound to complain. And so in the letters we told them that this was a 1-year contract. In fact, we are running behind schedule. We should have this thing done by the close of the year, if not it's foreign funding. Where I told you is AFD environmental facility funding, and so we should have it completed in time so that the vehicles and the World Bank, the vehicles can start plying, the buses can start plying, and then those who are having their shops abutting the road can also start enjoying the benefits.
So until construction ends, shop owners will have to accommodate the losses. Efwa Evans Chinui for Joy News.
Watching Joy News Prime, still to come in the bulletin. Outgoing Presby moderator alleges attempts by politicians to buy his silence with $100,000 and other properties.
Politicians came to my house with fat envelope, $100,000, no cedis.
We have all that and more coming up later on in the bulletin. But up next, we will do business after the break. Now, the outgoing moderator of the Presbyterian Church of Ghana has made some wild allegations about politicians trying to bribe him with huge sums of money in a bid to get him to stop making public comments. Reverend Professor Marty was responding to a question about the role of politics in religion at a news conference organized by the church in Accra. Joy News' Maxwell Agbagba was at the news conference and has come through with this report.
The press conference was organized by the church on the back of its 16th General Assembly meeting at Abitifiku. The communique read by Reverend Professor Marty touched on various social issues in the country. Amongst other issues, the church urged and backed calls for the extension of senior high school duration to 4 years.
Severe punishment for culprits of examination malpractices be invoked, and the call by various stakeholders, including the Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools, CHAS, for the duration of the senior high school to be extended to 4 years must be considered by government.
Reverend Professor Marty also used the opportunity to state emphatically that the Presbyterian Church is non-partisan. He is on record to have said the Presbyterian Church will partner the NPP in development when voted into power. But he clarified that the church has been partnering political parties since time immemorial.
The Presbyterian Church of Ghana does not belong to any party. And the Presbyterian Church of Ghana does not support any party. The Presbyterian Church of Ghana is in existence before all political parties came. And I want to say this: we have seen governments over governments. All governments that come to rule our dear nation, we partner, Presbyterian Church of Ghana partner them. Let me say this, and please let this be heard loud and clear. At the moment, the Presbyterian Church of Ghana is partnering NDC government in the governance of our nation. So those who say that Reverend Mate is NPP, maybe they pay my NPP dues for me.
The outgoing moderator of the church also made some allegations about attempts by some politicians to gag him from making public comments.
Listen, they have tried, politicians have tried all means, all means to muzzle me, to get me, but they can't. They come with bribes, fat envelope, $100,000. Listen. I want everybody to listen. Politicians came to my house with fat envelope, $100,000, no cedis, dollars, and also with the promises that if you keep quiet, we will give you a house at Trazaco with swimming pool. You know what? We will give you 4-wheel drive. These people were lucky. I did not have big dogs in my house.
For Joy News, Maxwell Agbagba.
Now, Deputy Power Minister John Jinapor has warned the impending shutdown of the Tabo gas processing plant for mandatory maintenance on Wednesday may result in some power outages. The warning contradicts assurances from GRECO and other power sector players that the shutdown should not impact power supply. John Jinapor explains, though arrangements have been made to switch some of the thermal plants to generate electricity using crude oil, there could be some downtimes which may result in outages. He however says the maintenance will last for just a few days.
Some of our plants have depended on the gas, especially Amere and some other thermal plants. And so if you are not having gas, it means that there's a constraint. But the engineers are working around the clock. We may switch some of the plants to light crude, which is also a process. And so I would want to use this occasion to appeal to Ghanaians to bear with us in the event that we may be doing some switching. If there's any interruption, they should bear with us. The positive side is that we don't anticipate the shutdown to be for a long period of time. My understanding is that it's for a couple of days and they will return. Even with that, we are determined to work around the clock to ensure that we sustain power as much as we can. But when you are working with machines, especially when you are switching, you may encounter one hitch or the other. And so I just want to appeal to Ghanaians to bear with us. I just want to assure you and state emphatically that I am confident that given the programs and the activities that we have undertaken, we have gone past the worst scenario where people went out without electricity for days. Even if we have a challenge, it would normally be a technical hitch that we hope to be able to resolve as soon as possible.
Mr. Jinapor was speaking to journalists after a meeting to resolve concerns raised by the Public Utilities Workers Union about plans to cede the Electricity Company of Ghana to a private company as a concession for 25 years. The staff of ECG have organized a series of protests to stop this. Though the meeting failed to reach common ground, the Deputy Minister says the ministry will deepen its engagement with POOL in a bid to allow for clarity on the planned concession agreement and at the second compact with the Millennium Challenge Corporation of the USA.
Frank, transparent and open discussion. What we identified is that we have to deepen the engagement and the communication between MIDA and the staff and union of ECG. Employee security is one. How the concession would go on is another. Even the concession itself, they have some issues, and we believe that we ought to engage further and further clarify. You may explain issues, but issues keep coming up. Information keeps coming up. And so as a human institution, it's only proper that we continue to deepen the process. And as I said, from the meeting, it was obvious that all of us have resolved to work together. Albeit we may have our differences, we may have different positions, but it is beneficial for the state and the country if we continue to deepen the process. And